It's the difference between saying I think it was over the next 5 years, the UK government said that it was is planning to spend upwards towards 7 billion on AI services from US based companies. It's like, well, okay, you could do that. Or you could put 7 billion into developing up your own internal capacity, and you could use open source models for free.
Sovereignty isn't just about the models you run and where you run them, it's the entire stack. Data, compute, models, chips, no one does it all. China's probably closest on compute, the US on models, the UK wants to be Europe's gateway to American compute, with Google and Microsoft building data centers there. But there is another path. Open source models, free to download, free to modify, but hard to support. You get the control if you have the skills to build and maintain them.
So Inference, for example. So Inference is the sort of like the reasoning that happens in time when you send a query and then the model has to do something to spit something back out. That's inference, that thinking process. Depending on the application, you might want to be really dang close to that server because you want really low latency. You need fast responses. There are applications where an extra split second is not okay. If you're just playing around with the ChatGPT, that thing can be in Arizona. Like, it doesn't matter. It's okay if it has to think for an extra 2 seconds to get you your answers. Then you have a question about like highly sensitive data for training data sets, for example, and where do you want those to be stored? Do you want to provide private companies with access to those data sets? And if you do, are they allowed to store them on external servers, or do they have to train the models on servers within the country so the data doesn't leave the country? And so there's those considerations as well. But the sovereignty question, it's also so much bigger than just compute and where the data is stored. Sovereignty is this understanding, is this idea of how independent can you be or self-reliant can you be on the entire tech stack? So everything from the sourcing of data to the compute that you need to run the systems to developing the systems themselves, chip manufacturing, just everything in that stream. And right now there is no country that is able to do that completely on its own. Some are trying to get closer. China's probably the closest, at least on compute. The US also being up there, but no one can do this on their own. And open source is a large part of that conversation as well, because it would be an opportunity to run your own systems, develop your own systems, and not have to provide access to proprietary systems from different countries. It's the same question that a lot of countries are dealing with the same considerations. Do you have the internal expertise to adopt open source tools, embed them into public services, and to be able to maintain the safety and quality of those systems? Or are you in a position where really, if you want to start adopting AI and reaping the benefits of AI for different kind of public sector applications, you have to procure?
Sovereignty isn't just about the models you run and where you run them, it's the entire stack. Data, compute, models, chips, no one does it all. China's probably closest on compute, the US on models, the UK wants to be Europe's gateway to American compute, with Google and Microsoft building data centers there. But there is another path. Open source models, free to download, free to modify, but hard to support. You get the control if you have the skills to build and maintain them.
It's the difference between saying I think it was over the next 5 years, the UK government said that it was planning to spend upwards towards 7 billion on AI services from US based companies. It's like, well, okay, you could do that. Or you could put 7 billion into developing up your own internal capacity, and you could use open source models for free. And then it's not another 7 billion every 5 years. It's you have this capacity and you maintain it. And yes, you have to pay the people, but then you have this self-running machine. It depends where in the conversation you are, and depends on the bet that the state's going to make around AI. If you think that frontier cutting edge AI, like AGI, is on the horizon and it's going to bring some massive windfall for whoever has their finger in that pie, the only entities with the capital to keep pushing that cutting edge frontier are these major big tech companies. And so in the case that windfall lands, you want to have made that bet and make sure that you are sidling up next to those companies and have a good relationship, and they're investing in your country and your infrastructure and they're on board with you. AI is doing pretty well. And it already has lots of real world applications. And we really just, those need to start, that rubber needs to start hitting the road. We need to start capitalizing on those things. There's tons of really high quality open source models out there. Open source models, I think now they're like, keeps changing, but I think right now they're thought to be like 6 months behind Frontier in terms of the highest quality compared to the highest quality in both categories. In that case, like, who cares? Like, use the open source models. It's going to do the thing, embed it in the systems. Don't pay anything for it. Contribute to the ecosystem.
Sovereignty isn't just about the models you run and where you run them, it's the entire stack. Data, compute, models, chips. No one does it all. China's probably closest on compute, the US on models, the UK wants to be Europe's gateway to American compute, with Google and Microsoft building data centers there. But there is another path. Open source models, free to download, free to modify, but hard to support. You get the control if you have the skills to build and maintain them.
So, but you understand why countries kind of do both. They're like, okay, well, maybe we'll build off some open source here and try and get that going. But we also want to show that we're really investing and playing ball with the big AI developers, because if they have that windfall, like we want to be in on. So, like, one of the things that the UK has really been pitching for in terms of getting investment for building compute in the UK is the UK wants to try and be the gateway to Europe for the compute provision that Google or Microsoft wants to build. And so there is that big market space in terms of the infrastructure development. There are lots of benefits to taking a national open source strategy. I think every country should have a national open source strategy. That does not mean being 100% open source. It also does not mean trying to build up open source models and ecosystems that compete on the same level with what some of these companies are producing. It's about having a viable alternative, a good enough viable alternative, so that if the rug gets pulled out from under you, if the US somehow, like, I don't know, requisitions control over its major AI companies and then says, nope, EU, we're cutting you off, UK, EU, like, that would be catastrophic. So you need the good enough. And it doesn't just have to be viable. Like, it can be good too. It can be good enough to underpin some really great application work and research. And that's what we should be aiming for.